Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I watched the new comedy film Old Dads and now I want to share my thoughts on it with you. Old Dads is a comedy with a side of drama that follows Jack Kelly and his friends Mike and Connor. The trio recently became fathers as 50-year-old men and are now having to contend with the social climate of the modern world. Their outdated sensibilities and manners clash with new age concepts and people, and the three of them have to learn some valuable lessons to try and survive. It was written by Bill Burr and Ben Tischler and directed by Mr. B. Burr. It stars William J. Burr as Jack Kelly, Bokeem Woodbine as Mike Richards, and Bobby Cannavale as Connor Brody. The movie is broken down into 3 storylines, with each storyline following one of the 50-year-old men. Jack Kelly's is the main storyline, and 70% or more of the screen time ends up being spent with him and his family. The rest of the screen time is split between Mike and Connor's stories, and they share it with their families. Each family receives a small emotional journey to go on while Jack goes on his. Jack is an angry person who takes it out on everyone around him. Mike is tired and looking to tap out when life pulls him back in. And Connor is afraid of getting old and is terrified of his wife. Each of them must learn some valuable lessons and face a few moments of humiliation on their journey to enlightenment. There is also a ton of humor of different varieties. The bulk of it comes from poking fun at different characters and ideologies, as well as pointing out people's hypocrisy. The general cast is filled with people playing extremely exaggerated stereotypes. Most of them would be considered New Age hippies, and some of them would be considered Neanderthals. All of them are dialed up to 11 for the sake of the comedy. Then you have the 3 leads playing fleshed out characters, each of whom has a serious flaw to them. The flaw gets over-exaggerated like everyone else, but the rest of their personalities are normal. The visual journey involves following Jack and his friends around on their daily errands and watching them interact in different locations. There are a few dramatic conversations and there is a little bit of excitement towards the end, but mostly it's a straightforward journey. The soundtrack is filled with original songs of all different varieties. Rock and roll, heavy metal, blues, jazz, rap. It was an impressive catalog of hits from the different genres, and they used it to add emotion to the story. They never really used it for the atmosphere. Okay, on a positive note, the movie is really funny. There's a joke every 30 seconds or less, and they have a habit of piling the jokes so that you're hit by them one after the other. By the end of the film, my ribs hurt a little bit from laughing. They weren't afraid to poke fun at themselves and their own ideology, which was a nice change of pace. They had something for everyone. The general cast helps create a comedic atmosphere. It isn't just the leads that are over-exaggerated assholes. Everyone in the town is. They're either hyper-political and hypocritical, incredibly nosy and judgmental, or just outright state their vile views. There are no normal people here, and it makes the 2 crazy leads fit in better. Bill Burr does a fantastic job of threading the line between being a complete asshole and also having enough redeeming qualities that you can still sympathize with his character. He does have serious anger problems, and there were moments where I was uncomfortable with how angry he was over nothing. It made him really hard to be around as a character, but at the same time he was charming around his kids or whenever he was in a decent mood. Most of the things he got upset by made sense to me. I just wouldn't have gotten that angry. That scene at the end where he breaks down crying because of his mistake was great emotional work on Burr's part. Bokeem Woodbine is a bit of a mystery for most of the film. His character is having a midlife crisis and almost goes into shock. He's also the straight man of the group, so he had to be a lot more level-headed. Next to Cannavale and Burr, it would be hard to stand out, but Woodbine plays the straight man well and knocks the emotional climax out of the park. Bobby Cannavale is the most cartoonish of the 3 leads. His character is extremely vain and narcissistic. He's obsessed with his appearance, and every little flaw puts him into overdrive trying to deflect from it. He's also the living personification of that "how do you do kids" meme. It physically hurt me when he was talking to the poor young woman at the company and used the words fleek and baby about 30 times in 1 minute. In the end, like the others, he pulls out an emotional bait and switch and actually kills the finale. The visual journey is clean, and the soundtrack supports the story the whole way through. The soundtrack also stands out for the large variety of music they included in the film. The music was generally quite catchy and entertaining, and they also used it to great effect. Whenever the music came in during the big emotional moments, it always felt like a 1-2 punch. The actors would get the emotional ball rolling, and then the music would give it a final push. Now that we're through the positives, let's address the negatives. This story has some dull spots, and it spends a little bit too much time on the comedy and not enough time setting up Connor and Mike's stories. Jack's story could have used some more cooking time as well. They needed just a little more setup for the payoff to really work. The visual journey is very bland. They use a lot of locations for the movie, and they're not particularly interesting places. All they do in each location is just talk, and it's just some local town. On top of that, there are no big visual moments. There's only 1 or 2 visual gags, there are no beautifully framed conversations, and no high-stakes visuals whatsoever. It's also not trying anything new. This is another fish out of water story in which they make fun of both sides and learn a lesson at the end. It's a little bit formulaic. Overall, I thought the movie was hilarious, but it did have its dull moments. The cast does a good job of their roles, and the leads even stand out a bit. The visual journey is fairly menial, but the soundtrack does a wonderful job. If you like Bill Burr's style of humor, you'll love this film. If you are easily offended, this may not be for you. For a rating, I'd give this film a 7 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Bye-bye.